Davis is here to stay for at least the next 3 seasons. And on today's show, I want to talk about exactly what AD is going to bring to the Mavericks and can he bring the Mavericks to the promised land for the first time since 2011. Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. I'm Jeffrey Cooperstein. Great to be with you guys here on a Thursday afternoon. If you want more Mavs offseason content all throughout the offseason, more player breakdowns like this, the latest news and rumors, we'll be covering the NBA draft extensively as well. If you want all of that, go ahead and hit that sub button right now. It's youtube.com/MavsTV. Let's take a look at what AD did with the Mavericks this season, in 9 games. Obviously, that first game against the Rockets gave us a little taste of what the Mavericks could be with the healthy Anthony Davis. And all in all, after he came back from the injury, he was pretty solid. He averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks a night, 46.1% from the field, just 23.3% from 3, though. And that number will have to improve a little bit. Now, you're not going to expect AD to be a 35+% free throw shooter, but if he can get into the 3-point shooter, but if he can get into the 30s and just be at least a respectable 3-point shooter, I think that would help the Mavs out significantly. And there is no denying this whatsoever. You just see it right away. AD is a really good player. He does a lot of really good things on the court. He is one of the best defenders in the NBA, and he can make a lot of things happen. I do think he's an underrated playmaker on the offensive end as well, especially from the mid post. He's able to kind of dish it out, find open shooters, or he's able to get to the rim and finish over a big man, or if he has a mismatch against a 3, he can take him to school as well. So I do think Anthony Davis is a really, really solid player, but he obviously comes with some limitations, the biggest of which being the amount of time that he has missed. In the last 5 seasons, 2021 season, he played 36 games, and that was a 71-game season, so he played about 40%. Then he missed half the season again in 21-22, missed another big chunk of the season in 22-23, played in 76 games last season, which was by far the most he's played in a long time, and then this year, again, missed a significant chunk with that adductor strain. So I think when you're looking at it as a whole, you have to account for AD missing at minimum 20 games of the season. Now, if you remember, 65 games is what qualifies you for postseason awards and whatnot. So don't expect AD to be eligible for any of those postseason awards because at some point he's just going to get hurt and he's going to miss time. And with how his body has kind of, I wouldn't say failed him, but has broken down, so to speak, over the last 5 years or so, I think it's just a fair assumption to expect he's going to miss some time here. And here is AD talking about his injuries and how he deals with them. He said, "I've always been a solutions-based guy. Here's a problem. What's the solution now? I could sit here and complain and be sad, mad, or angry, whatever emotion you want to attach to that feeling. But for me, it's a game. It's basketball. I've trained my mind to go through these things." And I do think Anthony Davis has had the right mindset, not just with the injuries, but as a whole since he's been with the Mavericks. I think he said all of the right things, and I do think that he can be a leader of this team to take them back to the postseason where they belong next year. I think he's trying to embrace the fan base as much as possible. I think the fans are trying to embrace AD as much as he can, and everyone knows that it's a really difficult situation that he was put in. The midseason trade for a team that wasn't really built for him, that he has to try to come in and instantly try to carry this team to the playoffs. And the Mavs did get to the play-in, but most of that work was done without Anthony Davis because he was not available for the Mavericks with that adductor strain. So, but I do think he has the right mindset and the right mentality in order to lead this team. And Jason Kidd kind of agrees with Anthony Davis and agrees with me about his mentality. He said, "I think he has a great opportunity here with us, and he wants to show that he's one of the best in the world, but sometimes we take that for granted because it looks so easy. 3 blocks, 10 rebounds, 25 a night. Sometimes that can be boring and not sexy." Absolutely agree with Jason Kidd. Like, you look at Anthony Davis as a player, and it doesn't look super flashy. He's not making all these super crafty passes. He's kind of he's a pretty rugged player, but man, when he's on, as we saw again in that 2.5 quarters that Nico Harrison will tell you is a championship caliber team, when we saw that he can be absolutely dominant on the floor when he's healthy and amped up and ready to go. I want to ask you this though: will the Mavs make the playoffs with AD next season? If you think they will, type Y for yes. If you don't, type N for no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so you may get hit with a YouTube ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And while that happens, go on down there and get your votes in. This is what the AD contract looks like with the Mavericks, and as he signed the 3-year, $175 million max extension with the Lakers last offseason. So next year he'll be making 54.1. The year after that, 58.4, and then he has a player option in 27-28 for 62.7. And I would be absolutely shocked if AD did not pick up that player option at the age of, I want to say, 36. It would be it would shock the world if he was able to play at an extremely high level to where he wouldn't pick up that player option and he'd get another extension. And I do think that if he picks it up, the last year of this deal could be bad. I mean, he could be well past it at that point. He could be injured. A lot of unknowns there with Anthony Davis and that final year of the contract. And I hope that he plays well enough to where the Mavericks can look at that $62.7 million and say, hey, we're going to pay that to him. And hopefully he can give us, the production that we need. So I have skepticism that the last year of his deal is going to be one that the Mavericks are going to want to carry, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Here is Rich Paul, who is obviously the president of Clutch Sports, and he is the agent for Anthony Davis. And he says some people play this game because they make a lot of money. Some people play this game because they care, which makes them a lot of money. AD is a guy that cares. He brings all that growth and maturation with him. I think Dallas is actually getting the best in AD. Shout out to Mike Curtis of the Dallas Morning News, by the way, for all of those quotes. And I just hope that Rich Paul is right. I hope that the Mavs are getting the best in Anthony Davis, because if they are, I do think this team has a hell of a chance next year and beyond, and next year and the year after, to contend in the Western Conference. I think with the lineup that they're going to construct, which we'll show you here in just a moment, they do have a chance. The problem is there is a very finite window of the Mavericks contending. It's this next season in 25-26, and then it's the following season in 26-27. I think after that, it's going to be really hard for this team to contend. And with the limited resources that they're going to have in order to improve the roster, it really makes this window even more important. You don't have control of your own draft pick from 27 through 30. You have limited second round pick availability. You are high up in the close to the first apron of the luxury tax. So there really isn't much wiggle room for the Mavericks to improve this roster and try to go get the pieces around Anthony Davis in order to truly contend. It obviously starts with re-signing Kyrie Irving this offseason, and then you kind of have to go from there and see what creative trades and signings you can make in order to improve this roster. Otherwise, like I said, you're probably going to have to rip this thing down to the studs, and the Mavs are going to be really bad for a couple of years before they're good again. So that's kind of where it sits with Anthony Davis there, but I do think that they can contend with him as the number one option. You just got to pray for his health, and then you got to pray that the Mavericks can put a team around him in order to compete. If you think the Mavs are going to win a title within the next 2 years, hit that thumbs up icon for me. It's also the easiest way to help out the channel. It'll push this video to more Mavericks fans all throughout the NBA and YouTube sphere. So go ahead, hit that like button if you think the Mavs are going to lift that Larry O beat. And here's what the healthy starting five could look like here with PJ Washington, Kyrie Irving, Derek Lively, Klay Thompson, and Anthony Davis. And obviously that bench is going to chop and change all throughout. But I really believe that if this starting five does get an extended run together, it could be pretty special. I mean, it's one of the longest lineups in the league with PJ Washington playing the 3, AD at the 4, and Lively at the 5. And then you have one of the more crafty players in the league in Kyrie Irving at point guard, and Klay Thompson, who still had a very good year shooting the ball in his first season in Dallas. So I do think this lineup can work, but we're going to have to wait until mid-January at the earliest to see it come to fruition, because Kyrie Irving is going to be out until at least then with recovering from that torn ACL. So yes, the Mavericks can go back into contention here quickly. It could be as soon as next season. However, they need a lot of things to go right for them in order to get there, and I'm just not sure that all of those things are going to fall into place. I'm going to drink the hopium. I'm going to try to hope and pray and do whatever you have to do to try to get the Mavericks back into the Western Conference conversation. But there's a lot of work to be done this offseason. By the way, I believe the NBA lottery is less than 2 weeks away from now. So we'll see exactly where the Mavericks are going to be drafting there. That's kind of where it starts, is they got to get a draft pick who is an instant impact guy. And if they're going to trade that draft pick, it's got to be for a veteran who's going to make an instant impact on the Dallas Mavericks. So I think that's kind of where things sit. We'll be back here soon with another video here on Mavericks Today. If you haven't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's youtube.com/MavsTV, and we'll see you soon here on the channel. Have a good weekend.